Have you noticed how everything today feels a bit hollow? I've only recently been able to really articulate this, and I'm going to break this down into 3 layers. The first one being art. The best way for me to describe this is it feels thin. It's just been thinned out and it has less substance, less soul. Everything now in today's culture is about maintenance. The question is no longer, is it going to impact? It is now more about, will it perform? That's the key difference between today's art and older art. I just feel like now it's maintenance over meaning. It's all about speed and everything is shallow and whether or not it's going to trend. Art no longer asks questions. Older art used to tell a story. Older interviews and music and films had build-up and risk and silence. They weren't afraid to be uncomfortable or to be slow or to be serious. Older art was heavier because it was trying. Even when it was imperfect, it was trying. Now, much of culture is about not trying. It's about trying not to fail, trying not to offend, trying not to bore. And that means that it rarely dares to mean. That's why, like I said, maintenance over meaning. First of all, think about it. When you're not trying to fail, you're not experimenting, that's one. You're in the same place. If you're not trying to offend, you never take risks. You're always kind of walking on eggshells. And if you're trying not to bore, everything you do kind of has to have a shock factor. So when you really think about it, it's hard for the end product to actually mean something because it's so neutralized and sanitized and processed. And the ironic twist is that when everyone is quote unquote not trying, everyone becomes hypersensitive. Now art is a landmine. This is why cancel culture is so big in this generation, and it thrives because when you have a riskless, hollow environment, it creates zero tolerance for friction. Art no longer asks questions. Older art was so exciting, and when you go on apps like TikTok, there's so many edits of like older shows, older interviews. Bring back people like Wendy. The interviewers now are so corny. That's why I also feel like Netflix is so overrated, low-key, because everything kind of feels flat. And same thing for music. The majority is now just dry. It's just dry. It's not the same. Music videos are not the same. Everyone kind of sounds the same. I don't know. The other reason is overexposure and the lack of mystery. Paparazzi is dead and fame has democratized and decentralized. The machine is no longer the only way to really make it, quote unquote make it, because it was built on control, and control has kind of collapsed. Traditional media is no longer leading. I don't remember the last time I watched TV. Influencers have more, I guess, influence. It's just really changed. And with the rise of social media, everything is now content and access has exploded. The element of mystery is gone. The internet is just also way too saturated. Everyone and their grandma is on the internet. It's insane. The lack of mystery has kind of flattened art. So now that it's flat and everything is fast, everything is content, I don't think people realize that is totally dystopian because it creates emotional numbness and there is no depth. This is why apps like TikTok are leading in this generation. TikTok didn't cause this. It just fits perfectly. It's adaptive to a culture that no longer wants to feel deeply because depth is heavy. You think about it, TikTok does not require you to remember. It doesn't require you to deeply reflect or to dwell. You might come across a few thought-provoking videos here and there, but for the most part, everyone knows TikTok is more about ha 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 he he he. It's about scrolling, doom scrolling forever. That's why sometimes on TikTok, like, people feel like you don't have the patience for a movie. It's so sad. So then comes the second layer. When a society thins out meaning, it does not spare relationships. Relationships. When I say that art is about maintenance over meaning, same thing applies to relationships. Modern dating is shaped by the same forces: speed, performance, fear of depth, disposability. and this delusion of thinking you have options because of the internet. This creates relationships that are transactional, convenient, and aesthetic, just fake, lacking authenticity and depth. Numbness, think about it. Numb people avoid responsibility, they avoid permanence, they avoid depth, they avoid sacrifice, and these are things that love requires.
I was with someone that I couldn't really be with, and I knew it wouldn't last.
Love is really suffering because the generation we're in, people are almost allergic to patience and accountability. And a hookup culture and dating apps and shows like Pop the Balloon are symptoms of this sickness. When you look at a show like Pop the Balloon, first of all, that is an extremely cheap and low vibrational show. It is absolutely not about love. It is about power.
You would probably go a lot further. And I say that with all the respect in the world.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who's your dentist?
Humbling people and rejecting before you get rejected. It is also about promoting your business and getting a viral moment. That's it. No one is finding love on that damn show. People need to stop it. But it's okay, at the end of the day, she and her husband, they be laughing all the way to the bank. Millions and hundreds and thousands of views. That is proof of the hollowness. So the last layer is actually a physical translation of this hollowness. Architecture, and to be more specific, minimalism, which I hate with a passion. When a culture avoids depth, it absolutely will build spaces that avoid intimacy. Minimalism is a symptom of this. Not only is it a symptom, it is also a result of capitalism, because fewer details mean cheaper cost. A lot of homes today are extremely boxy, extremely sharp lined and cornered and cold.
Unlike today, in modern society, where everything is square. Your house is square, your windows are square, your bed is square, and your TV is square. And the reason why they've done that is to keep your mind and your spirit trapped, to prevent you from thinking outside of the box.
And I want to narrow down on this cold specifically. I mean lighting and temperature. A lot of houses have this really clinical blue fluorescent light. In my house, we have a cold light in our living room. I unscrewed the bulb and painted it pink with nail polish so the light could be warmer. And my parents thought I was crazy. Their systems have kind of adapted to it, but I can't because I notice it. My home will be like a Tuscan home. Arches, texture, color. These are things that signal emotion and life. Now, things like capitalism also play a really big role in this, like I said, because all these things, ornaments and details, have been reframed as clutter, but really it's not. Something else that I want to reference is, when we see these futuristic and dystopian movies, have you noticed that they are almost always in an environment that is squeaky clean, almost, no color, this neutral palette of colors, specific colors, gray, beige, white, black. They are almost never colorful. Robots are an extension of this because robots are actually very neutral and monochrome. They symbolize control and perfection. Have you ever seen a colorful robot? Not really. Most robots we see are in this neutral palette of colors, and that's psychological. They do that on purpose. Color equals life and emotion. And these futuristic movies, they kind of signal order because of all the control and perfection, but without life. Order without life.
My family kitchen, and everything in my house is really minimal. I find that there's so much chaos out in the world that when I come home, I want it to be just really quiet, and I want everything to feel calming.
Notice how Kim said that when she comes home, she wants calm and quiet because there is so much chaos out in the world. I'm not judging her, but this is an observation that I've made. There are two kinds of calm. Notice the kind of calm she chooses to live in. The first one is a life-giving calm, which is everything that I've explained. Arches, curves, texture, color, substance. These are things that we also see in places like libraries. Then comes the second kind of calm, which is a control calm. That is one, cold, lacks stimulus, has this absence of unpredictability and this complete order. And Kim's is the latter. Notice she didn't say, I want comfort, I want warmth, I want life. That's not what she said. She finds calm by subtract color, subtract warmth, make it as neutral as possible. Her hallway looks like an asylum. That control calm is the same calm you find in hospitals, in asylums, in offices. Why? Because, like I said, it has an absence of unpredictability, an absence of stimulus. It is not an ideal living space. And this makes perfect sense for her because she's extremely famous. She's always being judged and consumed and always performing. So it makes sense for her to want a space that doesn't surprise her, where she feels like she has control. But at the end of the day, that's not peace, that's containment. And that's okay, because when you are constantly in people's faces, control does feel calming. It is calming to her. I just want to say that hollowness is only a survival adaptation. It didn't come out of nowhere. It emerged not because people wanted emptiness, but because life and fullness just became way too expensive. Time, attention, emotional availability, risk, and money. Literally, the economy is shit today. And since COVID-19, everything has just not been the same. Now, things could definitely change because cultures swing in response to excess and counter movements rise. So this might not be permanent. That's the good news.